All right, we're going to call to order the Regional Planning Commission meeting Wednesday, March 14th. And if we could start with roll call, please.
Diane Vanderwell, absent. Peter Gower.
Here.
James Barnes.
Here.
Larry Chesney.
Here.
Sarah Javilicek.
Here.
James Fewens.
Here.
Ed Hawkins.
Here.
Frank Peterson.
Here.
And Kevin Weisky.
Here.
Thank you very much. Move on to salute to the flag. And if I could have Commissioner Chesney lead us this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion for that?
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a tie for a second. All those
Quick on the draw.
I know you do. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. How about approval of the minutes for January 24th?
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions on that? Okay. Public comment, item number 5.
Yeah, I have Tammy Holtstill, followed by Danny Cleus.
Okay. Tammy, welcome.
Good evening, Tammy Holtstill, Lemon Valley Swan Lake Recovery Committee. The water's still there, I'm still here, but I'm so tired of that one, so when the water goes, I'm gone. Maybe. I'm going to sound a little bit harsh, and I apologize to the city of Reno because you guys have been working with us. But right now, the fox is guarding the hen house. Washoe County approved a project this last week, even though there were a lot of different circumstances in which they shouldn't have and violated their own codes. And so we're appealing it. I have my feeling on this is it's come to the point that as the board of regional and being regional, I think every single development should be coming here. I have heard from people from Sparks that are out past Spanish Springs about the 5,000 homes going in there. And then we know about Stonegate. It got approved again today by the city of Reno, even though between regional and city of Reno's master plan, it was talked about infill, build up, then spread out. Don't extend yourself, but yet it's still approved. It's got to stop. You got to stop being, as far as I'm concerned, Roger Rabbit chasing Jessica, which are the developers. It's ridiculous. You are putting people's lives in danger. A good example, instead, last week, it hit the news. There was an accident, and it took 20 minutes for somebody to get to them on that accident. Now, come on. That is part City of Reno, part Washoe County, and gee, Washoe County puts in on Lemon Drive another development for 206 homes. And that's further away from the fire department, where there's also the chance of Lemon Drive flooding. There is an issue, a major issue. This has got to stop. And we need it to stop. You need to listen. It's gotten to the point that developing 206 homes in an area that is flooding, that doesn't have enough fire response, and doesn't have enough schools, and everybody's been talking about infrastructure. You don't have any place for traffic. And then the other thing that I have a real issue with is the postage stamp annexation that's happened. A good example is going to be Prado Ranch. Out in the middle of Washoe County, there's this one section, and he admitted it at a CAB meeting. The reason he came to you guys, or came to the city of Reno, was because city of Reno is going to allow him to develop and rezone. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Danny.
Can I get the overhead? I can hold it up. That's all right. Okay, there it is. But it's not in the right place. Here, we'll just move this here.
Recovery.
A little excited, huh? Danny Cleus for the record. Sunday's paper, front page. Reno knew Lemon Valley would flood, but still developed. This kind of stuff has to stop. We all knew it. I'm not the crazy one. And Jeanette Damon that did the report, she actually investigated. She have actually found more stuff than I did, which is surprising. Now as regional, you guys are all made up from Washoe County, the city of Reno, city of Sparks. Would you want this in your backyard? Like Tammy was talking about, 206 homes got approved in Lemon Valley. That picture right there was taken last August. If I went there to take that picture again, yeah, that water's gone because they finally built a berm in December. I have to listen to water pumps outside my house to make sure they work, so that doesn't end up in my neighborhood. It's been over a year. There's a lot of reports, a lot of hydrology reports that people have written for the city account and the county. I'm not too sure about Sparks because I'm not in that area and I haven't looked it up. That actually talk about the same thing that is going on right now. It's not fair to the residents. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to people that weren't even affected by it, by the water itself. Because everybody out there is dealing with the same problem that I am. Because they have to go around the barriers. They have to go 25 miles an hour. When things get approved, when they shouldn't, the sewer plant is surrounded by water. It's pretty sad. Infrastructure's not done. Schools is a big one for that area because there's only one elementary school and it's filled to capacity. When you have staff and not give you the full outlay of everything, it's really disheartening to us that come here every time there's a meeting. Questions have been danced around, and thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Other public comments on general public comment?
Unless this,
Do you have public comments, Adam? Just verify.
And once you give Damien your card, if you could just state your name when you get to the podium.
My name's Cathy Bowling. I actually live out at the opposite end of the town that these people from Lemon Valley are talking about. But my husband and I took a trip out there Sunday afternoon just to see what was going on after all this time. And oh my gosh, I can't believe that they would approve more development for that area after what's happened. I can't believe that they approved the development in the first place without making the original developers do something to prevent that lake from flooding like it did. I was very surprised to see that half the lake at this point has a much higher bank, maybe 7 to 10 feet high on half of it. And the other half, the south and the southwestern side of it, is at the same level almost as the road. So, wow, who wouldn't know that if that lake did get a lot of water, that wouldn't flood. And I'm just wondering who's going to help pay for all this, that the injury that these people have taken, and is it going to fall on the taxpayers? Because I'm really tired of having my property taxes increased just so the developers can shirk their duties. And I believe the two other speakers spoke about traffic problems, extra police, extra fire, extra schools needed. I just think it's time for the development community to start shouldering their share. And I don't know how this board can go about helping the county and the cities of Reno and Sparks out with this, but I'd certainly appreciate any help you could offer in getting this taken care of, because like I say, you don't have to be a hydrologist or a geologist or anything to see that area, at least half of it was just open to the water whooshing out when you have these heavy rains and snow. So thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other public comments on this item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and move on to item number 6, business of the day, and our item under there. First one, A, public hearing, regional plan conformance review for the City of Reno Master Plan. And Nate, welcome. I believe you have a presentation.
I do. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Nate Kusha, Regional Planning. So before we get started, we know that there's been a lot of discussion about the inclusion of the entire master plan document into your staff report. In the past, we've attempted to provide a summary of the master plan in regards to the findings for conformance, and full master plans have not been included in staff reports. However, we understand there may be a desire to have the entire master plan document be included as part of staff reports. We apologize for not getting you this one for this conformance review earlier than we did. And we are open to having some discussion about if this would be a useful practice, and if so, in what format you guys would like to receive the document, whether it be as an attachment to the staff report, a CD, or some other format. So with that, open it up to kind of some discussion on what you would like with that.
Feedback for Nate on formats for viewing large documents as part of the staff report? Commissioner Chesney?
Yeah, I'd like to, I got this at 2:30 this afternoon. I'd like to have a hard copy, and I'd like to have enough time to study it before I take any action on this thing tonight.
Okay. We are able to, if you guys would like, if that is the feeling, the sentiment here that you can't take the action tonight, you are able to view the document. We can have a special teleconference meeting in the next week or two that you guys can then make the motion on. We can still have the presentation and give you all the information tonight. We'll provide you with the document and all the materials needed for you guys to have time to go over that, and then you can make a motion at that time, if that's the preference.
I won't speak for the rest of the commission, Nate, but I think my preference would be to hear the presentation and then get to the point. If there are questions, we can ask those of you. And then if the commissioners have feedback on their comfort level about making a motion on the plan, maybe we can do that after we've gotten your information. Does that sound good for the rest of the commission? Okay.
All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and move into them. This is the agenda item request that the City of Reno Master Plan be reviewed for conformance with the regional plan, and can be found starting on page 7 of your packets. So the City of Reno began an update of their master plan in April of 2015. On December 13th of 2017, the Reno City Council voted to adopt the new master plan. The proposed plan revises and replaces existing plan elements, and the plan contains 5 chapters, which you can see listed above, and I'll just quickly touch on what each one contains. So Chapter 1 is the introduction, and it includes a description of the City of Reno's Community Engagement Initiative, which they've dubbed Reimagine Reno. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. It was very extensive, and as well as a description of the parts of the plan. So Chapter 2 contains the 8 guiding principles of the proposed plan. The figure above indicates the principles, which you can also find in your staff report on page 2. There are various topics such as responsible and well-managed growth, vibrant neighborhoods and centers, and thriving downtown and university district, as well as many others. Chapter 3 contains area-specific policies described in the proposed plan as policies to guide the character and form of development in different locations of Reno and its sphere of influence. These policies are broken into 5 categories of areas, first one being regional centers, community neighborhood centers, corridors, employment areas, and neighborhoods. Chapters 4 and 5 of the master plan are all about implementation. Chapter 4 contains the city's land use plan as well as its concurrency management system. And Chapter 5 is the city's implementation plan, which establishes a framework to support the implementation of the guiding principles, goals, and policies of the proposed master plan. So with that, policy 4.1.3 of the regional plan identifies that the RPC must consider the factors listed on the slide overhead when reviewing a master plan amendment for conformance review. Aside from minor items, as noted in the list of scheduled additions found as attachment 1 to the staff report, the proposed master plan promotes and does not conflict with the regional plan. In a very general manner, the master plan directs development in core areas, addresses development constraints, promotes infill, and provides for a mix of residential and non-residential land uses, and discusses concurrency as it relates to the provision of public services and infrastructure. As for the addition, staff worked closely with City of Reno staff and have identified certain potential subjects that are anticipated to be discussed in the update process. City of Reno and TMRPA staff have discussed this approach and are working together on moving forward. Staff has found no significant conformance issues and recommends approval of the proposed amendment. There is a suggested motion overhead, and myself, as well as Sienna Reed from the City of Reno, are here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Nate. Questions for Nate? Commissioner Chesney.
Mr. Chair, yeah. Can, this is out of whack, as far as I'm concerned. First of all, we didn't get the document until this afternoon. Secondly, I would like to see the changes from the existing master plan to the new master plan, the changes in language, and have an opportunity to study it. I just, at this point in time, I cannot support this tonight.
So as far as the changes in language, it's going to be very extensive. It was a very extensive update. It's almost a whole new plan for the City of Reno. So to do all of those changes would be quite extensive. We have provided you the document, and we can allow you the extra time to obviously go through that more completely to see if you can make these findings or not.
Sienna, I'm wondering if you could elaborate just on how extensive the changes were for the City of Reno. It's almost like a completely new document. You know, it'd be hard to really even do like a comparison. If you could elaborate on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Regional Planning Commission. For the record, Sienna Reed, Senior Planner with the City of Reno. Chair Gower is correct. We did an absolutely wholesale update of the master plan. So we went from a document that was close to 1,000 pages in size to one that's a little bit over 230, 250 pages. So it really is an extensive document change, and there isn't the ability to go back and do a red line version, because in essence it would be striking through the entire current Reno master plan and adopting the new master plan wholly anew.
I can understand that, but I'm not buying a pig in a poke either. I want to see the document, and I want time to study it. It's just that simple.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Spilczyk.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Our City of Reno Planning Commissioners, obviously you know this document very, very well, so I'd be interested to hear your perspective on, because you went through the entire update process.
Commissioner Leisky, you want to field that one?
I'll start, Commissioner Gower, and then or Chair Gower tonight. I'll let you chime in any time, or Commissioner Hawkins. But the best way for me to describe this to you all is that going through the process for the last 2 years on this is and has been basically writing a brand-new document if it was a first-time document. Yes, it correlates to previous master plans, but it is new direction, and it is new thought process, and it is planning for the future. I was also caught a little off guard by not having at least an electronic version submitted with our staff report to look up on site, on the website. But I can tell you that to take another half of the Tiobe National Forest out in trees just to create the paperwork to do it, I ended up with three 3-inch binders of revisions and meeting paperwork just through the process from 2015 to last fall of 2017 in what Sienna and the Reno staff was producing. And that wasn't even all of the paperwork. That was just everything, keeping it together so that I could keep track of revisions as we went through chapter by chapter. So I understand your concerns about wanting to read it. I've lived it. My opinion is biased. I'm sure Commissioner Hawkins, Commissioner Gower feel the same way because they lived it for 2 years. Maybe, Sienna's the only one that lived it, slept with it, vacationed with it, did everything that's here tonight. But I would be interested in hearing Commissioner Chesney's specific requests for what information you're looking for at the regional level, which is a 10,000-foot overview of what the details are in a master plan amendment. We know how master plans work with regional and how they're used based upon history and based upon the findings that are before us. So maybe if you have some specific questions, they could be answered tonight, and they would be general information for all of us sitting here tonight.
My reply to that is I can't ask questions about air. I haven't had an opportunity to.
Do you know what a master plan is, right?
I'm talking about Reno.
Do you know what our current master plan has in it?
No, I don't.
Well,
So
okay.
why would I sign off on this one if I hadn't had an opportunity to even analyze it?
Got it. That's about all I have then, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawkins, you want to add to that?
I'm concerned about a few items on page 15 of the staff report. I've starred 2, 4, and 8. Let's start with number 2.
Yes, so for these scheduled additions, these are stuff we've been working with Sienna and the City of Reno staff, and these items have been added as additions to be potentially addressed during the update process. So a lot of these items we're anticipating are going to be things that are going to change within the new regional plan that we're currently updating. And so we're going to be working through the update process and with the City of Reno when these things do change to kind of figure out how they're all going to look. So for number 2, and as the residential, non-residential densities in the convention regional center, we expect that regional center, the way it looks and how we write policies around it are going to change. And so it is, right now, doesn't necessarily meet all the requirements that are listed in the current regional plan. But because that's probably going to be changing, or we anticipate that, we are not requiring them to do that, add this addition at this time or at any scheduled time until we're done with the update.
The reason why I ask that is because we have Station Casino that's pondering the question on when they start construction or what they do with their property down there next to Convention Center. And everything so far in the last couple of years have gone smooth with this stations getting the changes that they needed, along with purchasing the property behind what's existing from their last meeting with us. I just didn't want that holding anything up in case, you know, this guy pulls a trigger and says, hey, we're ready to start developing this property.
If I could, Mr. Chair, step in for just a minute and provide Commissioner Hawkins with just a little bit more context. So in terms of the Convention Regional Center, that is a regional center in the city's current master plan. It is a regional center in the new master plan. From a minimum density and intensity perspective, we carried forward exactly what is adopted today through to the new master plan, noting that that is somewhat lower than what is in the regional plan requirements. And again, that's where Nate was talking about taking a look at some of those requirements as part of the regional plan update process. But in terms of just general consistency, in terms of development vision, and ultimately development standards, there shouldn't be any holdup in terms of new development coming forward in that particular area.
Okay, thank you. Number 4.
So number 4 is in reference to, in the new proposed City of Reno master plan, many of the regional centers that are designated as regional centers by the regional plan are no longer considered regional centers within the proposed City of Reno master plan. That, yet again, is another item that through the update process, we're going to be looking at that and probably rolling back or redesignating some of these regional centers as well.
Would Stead area be looked at as maybe a regional center in the future?
At this time, we don't really know yet. We're still working through all these kind of policy development questions, but these are things that we're going to be bringing up throughout the process. So we can't answer that at this time.
Okay, and number 8, please.
Number 8 is in reference to the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan. It is not explicitly adopted through the proposed City of Reno Master Plan. There is talk of sunsetting it in reference to that, which we've noted. But yet again, it's another one of those items through the update process. We may or may not be keeping the joint plan. There may be changes to it, and we don't know how that's going to play out yet. But because of that, we're leaving it as this item to be potentially addressed through the update process.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Specifically to item 8, you know, the City of Reno may have lived and breathed their regional plan update, but the Reno-Stead Joint Corridor I've been living with for a really long time since its inception. So this document is important to me, and we are scheduling a joint Planning Commission meeting with City of Reno and Washoe County. But there are items within the Reno-Stead Joint Corridor Plan that are still active and are still vital to joint planning between the county and the City of Reno. So when I hear sunset clauses and stuff, I get a little...
And the intent is,
A little nervous.
in the master plan, they just reference possibly sunsetting it, not necessarily saying that is happening or at this time or when. It's just the fact that it's not in the actual paper document itself. And the City of Reno staff, we have talked to them, and they have assured us that it is going to be on the website underneath the neighborhood centers, so it still is being able to be accessed as well. And they do consider it adopted. It just doesn't explicitly lay it out within the paper document itself.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I mean, not to belabor this anymore, but I would have liked to have received, you know, a week ago, an electronic link to the plan, which I would have been able to make a more informed decision this evening. I do have some questions specific, because I couldn't find it in the plan in terms of how the end may or may not be there, but it probably should be addressed in the appendices, but addressing fire services with regards to automatic aid between Truckee Meadows and City of Reno and City of Sparks.
You have automatic aid answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Sienna Reed for the record. So in terms of fire services, those are directly addressed in Chapter 4 of the master plan, which is entitled the Growth and Reinvestment Framework. And that is really where the city's master plan gets into all of its concurrency management system. So that is still a higher level than an automatic aid agreement. So within Chapter 4 of the plan, what you have is, you know, all of those stations that are currently in place for the City of Reno within the city's TMSA, where might we need fire stations, and then within the current concurrency management system, very specific requirements as to what development is responsible for paying for in terms of the actual capital facilities themselves, and then policies that speak to how the city should evaluate approving different development proposals in relation to the extension of fire services. So it really is kind of a higher level policy framework, and including the automatic aid agreements within the master plan wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for a policy document.
That I understand.
But certainly if, I'm happy to answer any, further detailed questions on the concurrency management system as it relates to fire or other services as well, so.
Other questions for Sienna, for Nate? So I think at this point, the question that stands is, whether the commission is comfortable moving forward. And just to kind of pick up on some of the discussion and the feedback that we've heard, and as Commissioner Weisky indicated, I mean, my comfort level is pretty high because I've seen the plan, over the past 2 years. As Commissioner Weisky said, I'm sort of biased. It was interesting. I found myself wanting to look at the plan in relation to these scheduled additions, thinking, what did we miss here? I wanted to go look in the plan and see, what was missing there, and that's kind of what triggered the, oh my gosh, it's, there's nothing there. So I think we have two options here. We can move forward with a motion if the commission is comfortable. And again, if there's any feedback from the other commissioners who didn't live it and breathe it for 2 years, now's the time to provide that feedback. And if you are comfortable, we can move forward with the motion. As Commissioner Chesney's indicated, if the comfort level is not there, I think we have an option to continue. There is a time frame, as I understand it, 60 days to do that conformance review. So if we do move forward with a motion to continue, we're going to have to give some pretty specific guidance in terms of when the, our decision, when we'd have an opportunity to make a conformance decision. So how does the commission feel at this point?
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may, if we could get feedback from council in terms of if a teleconference is allowed, and a recorded teleconference, to be able to just give us a week to do some more review.
Yes, Jessica Prunning for the record. A telephonic meeting would be fine as long as it's properly noticed so that we comply with the open meeting laws. I'm not sure what everyone's schedules are looking like for the next week, but we can certainly work, staff can work with you to send out an invite and find a good time for everyone. The 60-day timeline runs from the time that Reno submitted the plan to this agency to be reviewed for conformance review. If the RPC fails to make a determination within that 60-day time frame, then it's deemed to be conformed. So I'm not sure what day the plan was submitted to TMRPA.
February 16th is the date.
So we are 30 days in almost right now. So that should, if we reschedule this item for consideration, it should be done in the next couple weeks, certainly. And I would just note that it does take a 2/3 vote of total membership for the conformance review to pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, what's the feeling of the commission? I'll entertain feedback or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Weisky, normally at a point like this, I might jump right in and make a motion, but instead I am going to ask the City of Reno commissioners to maybe step back and allow consideration to the other 6 members, 5 members who are here tonight of this commission, to allow them to make the motion, and because they are not as informed as we are on this master plan, And at that point, after the motion is made, if we have any discussion that may or may not make a difference or make us feel better, we should give it at that time and then look at a vote. And that's just a suggestion from me to my fellow Reno commissioners.
Sounds great to me. Commissioner Hawkins, are you okay with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, then
Yes.
if I may, I would ask for a continuance of this item. I do believe that we can get a telephone conference meeting within a couple of weeks and get this resolved. If I could just have a little bit of time to read it, I'll feel a lot better, especially on Chapter 4.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I agree with Sarah. A couple of weeks would be fine, and a teleconference would be. Would we actually take the vote at the teleconference?
I think that is the concept. It would be agendized as an action item for you guys to make a vote, to take action one way or the other at that point in time. To continue it, though, we will need a formal motion and a second, and then a vote on that motion.
I did make that motion.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Is there a second?
I got a question for legal.
Commissioner Hawkins?
As always, do we stand silence is consent? So if there's no action, let's say the world halfway ends before we get through this, silence is consent, so it goes forward?
If your question is whether or not there would be deemed conformance by virtue of inaction by this commission, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner Barnes, you have a question?
Yes, no, I agree with Sarah and Mr. Chesney. I think it'd be good to go ahead and continue it and have a conference call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So we've got a motion and a second to continue the item to a conference call in the very near future. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Yay.
Okay. Okay. I believe the motion to continue carries. All right. We will move
Mr.
on.
Chair, I'd like to thank you and the members of the Reno Planning Commission, the representatives of the Reno Planning Commission for your indulgence.
Absolutely. I think if it was a Sparks or a Washoe plan, we'd
be doing
feel
the
the
same
same
thing,
way.
yeah.
So,
Great.
yeah. So we'll move on then to item 6B, which is discussion and possible action regarding the regional plan update. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Lauren Knox, Regional Planning. For this item, I'll be providing information on the 2017 Regional Plan update. So the last update we gave on the status of the 2017 Regional Plan was at the end of last November. Since then, staff has been working on various items listed above, and we wanted to provide you with an update on each of these items. So first, I just want to note that at the end of January, we had a member of our consultant team, Mike McKeever, visit the area to get a better understanding of the lay of the land and also work with our Regional Plan Update Working Group, which is members of local government staff, the Regional Transportation Commission, and the Washoe County School District. Mike McKeever is the previous director of the Sacramento Area Council of Governments and was heavily involved in the creation of the Sacramento Region Blueprint, which was a major regional planning effort that TMRPA staff was introduced to during our time with the Portland State Urban Sustainability Accelerator Program, and we were quite impressed with this effort. So the other two items I'm going to go through in the next slides. So first off, we launched our second survey related to the update, which is the Quality of Life Survey. The survey was created in conjunction with Truckee Meadows Tomorrow, which is a nonprofit organization whose primary goal is to enhance quality of life here in the Truckee Meadows. The survey asks respondents about various categories that positively contribute to quality of life, various indicators for what's valued most, and also questions to gauge preferred regional identity. This survey is open until April 1st, so I encourage everyone to take it, tell all your friends, family, whoever. So TMRPA and the update consultant team has been working on refining the scope of work for the entire update process and also beginning to work on some of these items. I'm going to go through each of these tasks identified, but I just wanted to point out on this slide that the anticipated completion for the update has been adjusted to March of 2019. The main reasoning behind this is that through the reconnaissance work completed by the consultant team at the start of the process, as well as various conversations we had, particularly with our regional plan update working group, we noticed that it was imperative that we build in enough time and space to involve more stakeholders and various groups within the community, and also begin work on how the plan's going to be implemented. So we're wanting to look at implementation during the process instead of after to ensure that the plan has the best chance of being successful. All right, so task 1 is stakeholder engagement, which is anticipated to occur all throughout the remainder of the update. We're currently working on completing phase 2 of the communication and engagement component of the 2017 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan update. You may remember back in August during a joint Regional Planning Commission, Regional Planning Governing Board meeting that the communication and engagement component for phase 1 was approved. This plan really focused on a strategy to get the regional plan update process in front of as many people as possible and really push people to our webpage and ultimately to our first MetroQuest survey, which was highly successful in capturing respondents. For phase 2, we're currently working on refining the groups that we anticipate engaging with. This includes our regional partners, stakeholders, the broader community, and of course this commission and the Regional Planning Governing Board. We're also in the process of determining where and what type of input is needed. And we're nearing completion on this item, so a draft will be made available soon. So task 2 is the baseline assessment. It is a major data gathering and analysis exercise to help us understand where we're at now and the existing conditions. This is really a mapping exercise to help provide an initial understanding of where services and facilities are located, analyze current growth patterns, tell us where constrained areas are that are unsuitable for development, identifies where existing entitlements are, and identifies suitability for development. All in all, the goal with this task is to understand our existing conditions and their implications for the type and pattern of growth. Task 3 entails the development of various scenarios. So this exercise is anticipated to be based on the information obtained from the baseline assessment, combined with an exploration of alternatives. The various scenarios have not yet been developed. However, they may look at altered ways to grow, desirable futures, or even undesirable futures for the purpose of understanding and comparison. You may remember from the housing study that 2 different scenarios were utilized as depicted on the slides overhead. And this kind of work helped TMRPA to understand our potential analysis for utilizing scenarios, and we plan to leverage this tool for the update as well. So the policy development and evaluation task of the update has also already started and will be ongoing throughout a majority of the update. This task includes a full evaluation of the policies in the current regional plan, identifying what's working well and what needs to be improved upon or maybe rethought. Team RPA has actually been working on this item and is almost complete with this evaluation. There are currently about 140 goals and policies within the regional plan, and staff's aim is to really reduce that number in the updated plan and to help provide some clarity and better understanding of the direction of the regional plan. In combination with current plan policy analysis, the baseline assessment, and development of scenarios, new policies will be developed. That's really the ultimate goal in updating this plan. Additionally, as mentioned previously, staff is interested in understanding the implementation of new policies as they're developed to really help create better and more useful policies for the future. Through our policy analysis, we've recognized that implementation is difficult and really needs to be the focus moving forward. Task 5 includes drafting the updated plan. Through this task, we're identifying the structure of the plan and potential associated documents that may accompany the plan. We're going to look at layout and format and eventually write the plan in conjunction with the consultants. And then task 6 is the final step, where we're going to premiere the final products and ideally adopt the new regional plan. The final products may include a variety of the items listed overhead. Obviously, the plan itself will be one of the products. We are also looking at other products to capture more audiences, which may include items like a graphical one-page summary, various maps and data, a new web page for easy access, and potentially a work plan and procedure item changes to better implement the new plan. In terms of adoption, NRS requires that 3 regional planning commissions are held, 1 in each jurisdiction, as well as final approval by the Regional Planning Governing Board. And I want to emphasize that all throughout all of the tasks I just mentioned above, we plan to involve stakeholders, partners, the broader public, the RPC, the RPGB, everyone basically, to gain as much insight and feedback as possible to help us in crafting the new plan. So with that, if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Questions for Lauren? Okay, great job. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
All right, we'll move on to item number 7 then, members and directors reports. Yeah.
Great. Yes, hello, Jeremy Smith, sitting in for Kim Robinson. She's under the weather today. And this is my first report from the dais. It's taken me 6 years to get here. And now that I'm here, she'll have a hard time getting her seat back. No, I'm kidding. So obviously, we recognize and appreciate your comments around how we handled the, giving you access to the document as far as the master plan. We're going to go back and evaluate those past practices and clearly come up with something that works better so we don't have this issue going forward. We will also get on to scheduling that teleconference straight away tomorrow morning when we get back to the office, so we make sure we can meet that 60-day requirement and get that in there. Finally, the only other item that I was made aware of is that we may not have any other items for our regularly scheduled April meeting, so there's a possibility that that may be canceled, and we will stay in contact with you and make sure you know what's happening there, but maybe we'll get a respite.
Okay.
There it is.
Thanks very much. Then we'll move on to legal counsel report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jessica Prenti for the record. Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then to item 8, requests for future agenda items. Any requests from the commission? Commissioner Hawkins.
Is there anything as a body of commissioners that can deal with Swan Lake? Just a question.
Commissioner Hawkins, who are you posing that question to?
The whole commission, the whole body right here, as we see it right now. Do we tackle such things as Swan Lake, or is that the entity that's involved with the goings-on of it?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hawkins, so how would you like to present that for a future agenda item? Would that be your question and then open it up for discussion at our next meeting, maybe?
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay, so that's enough direction for staff then to put that question on our next meeting for a discussion topic at the end of the meeting or wherever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Watsky.
Thank you. Other requests? All right, we'll move on to item 9, public comment.
Appears we have one. Excellent. Of course. Is it Maureen O'Brien? Excellent.
If you just state your name for the record, Maureen.
It's Maureen O'Brien. Good evening. Thank you for serving and doing what you do for our area. I am a resident of the unincorporated area of the county. Have been here over 30 years. Have been very much involved with community action in many ways. But my question here, and it was really, my comment was going to be about agenda number 6. I have a couple thoughts, and I hope that maybe you can think about these as you get your telephone call together to review the city's master plan that's been approved. I've been coached very well by other folks who are involved with CABs, NABs, and different things. They always say to seek information, get the facts, review and talk with others, and then try to discuss for an understanding. I find it very difficult in the city council approved master plan that of the 250 pages, there's only 2 mention of Truckee Meadows fire. Truckee Meadows fire has been around since 1970s. It came about because concerned citizens got together because they felt fire prevention was not being provided to them. Many years ago, the city of Reno was right here. All the Truckee Meadows stations were out here in the outlining areas, the unincorporated area. As the city has annexed, their stations have now been placed in areas where they were not. But you have to remember, Truckee Meadows Fire has crews in their stations 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to respond to the citizens. That is their job. They have a job to serve, and that's what they do. In the city's plan, there's only 2 mention of Truckee Meadows Fire. And I find that astounding. If this is really, truly a new look of how to work together. When you do get your documents and your printed copy, if you're like me, I like printed copies so I can make notations. And I do have a 3-ring binder with every lined version that the city has produced of all the different series. I'll share that with you if you need that, Larry. On page 29, under Specialized Departments, Agencies, and Organization, Public Safety and Hazard, Truckee Meadows listed there, right behind the City of Reno Police, City of Reno Fire. Then it goes on to us, Truckee Meadows Fire. And it talks about,
It goes quick, I'm sorry.
yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate your comments. Other public comment on this one? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to written correspondence.
We have none.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Move to adjourn.
What a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Good night.
Aye.
All right, good to see you.